Yeah, awesome. Brilliant. So guys, today we've got a fair number of people on. So just with a heads up today, today's going to be quite an in-depth session, probably a different session to what we've normally done. This is going to be quite hands-on in terms of how you use software, and that ranges from Buildxact, Xero, some references in there to QBO as well, Dex and a few other little platforms, and how you basically go through the whole process once you receive an invoice, all the way through to how you cost track against that invoice from an estimate. So we've got some experts on this call, and I'm not one of them when it comes to the accounting side at all. Even though I did used to work at NYB, I prefer to stay away from those conversations and bring in some other people on the call. So just want to introduce everyone. If you guys all pop your mics on. So you probably would know Dan and Don from a few sessions we've done in the past, but Don, you're going to be the first one up. Do you want to introduce yourself there, mate?
Yeah, so my name's Don. I'm from the Not So Silent Business Partner. We have a bookkeeping business, so we kind of do all this paper pushing every day of the week using Xero with Buildxact. Yes.
Awesome, Don. Do you want to introduce Natalie there as well?
So Natalie is the number one most important person in the business and actually has more in-depth knowledge of the processes. So Natalie's going to help do the demo today.
Awesome.
Hello.
And Dan from Xact Accounting.
Yeah, g'day everyone. Thanks, Jules. I'm Daniel Wilkinson. I'm one of the partners over at Xact Accounting. So we specialise in building construction. I don't do tax or any of that sort of stuff. I do commercial accounting, which is margins, profits, budgets, forward-looking, and that's my batch. Thanks, Jules. Don?
Awesome, mate. And Ryan, and you can see Ryan has got the famous orange bee on his chest as well. So he is a Buildxact employee, and you can see the office virtual background as well.
Yes, I'm a customer success manager here at Buildxact. I recognize a few names in the attendees list, so you might have seen me in one-on-one trainings that I run, complimentary to any subscription for Buildxact, and work on the front lines of educating people about using the platform.
Awesome. So yeah, we've got a wide range of people in different backgrounds and knowledge here on the call, guys. So yeah, like I said, it's going to be a fairly in-depth session in terms of the recommended process of how you follow right the way through from getting an invoice, pushing it into your accounting software. For those of you who don't know, there's a two-way accounting sync now from Xero and QBO into Buildxact. So we're going to be talking through how to use that as well. And then once you've got that in there, cost tracking against it, and really just making sure that you're on top of the performance of the job and the business overall from a profit perspective. There'll be a big session for Q&As at the end. Feel free at any point in time just to pop in the chat if you have any questions. We'll try and go through them as much as we can through the session where relevant. But yeah, you'll be able to book in sessions either with Buildxact directly for a demo, or if you're currently using Buildxact, you can always go in and book a training session with Ryan or the team. And then Don and Dan will have some QR codes up there as well to book in sessions with them. So hopefully you guys find today really useful. Just thought I'd get a bit of a heads up of where everyone is at the moment. For those of you that are currently using Buildxact or not using Buildxact, what accounting software are you currently using? Majority of people will be NYB, QBO, and Xero. But if you can just pop in the chat just so we have a bit of an idea about where everyone is at currently, that would be amazing. So I see Peter saying Xero. I'm not seeing anything else in the chat just yet. Hopefully everyone can post actually in the chat. That'd be chat is disabled. Okay. All right. How do we enable chat? Okay. I think we might just have to stick to the Q&A box if the chat isn't working.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Phil, if you're on there in the background, if that can be something we can be enabled in the attendees can chat with everyone. Maybe that. Guys, can you have a look now and see if the chat is working? There we go. Brilliant. So 00000. Yeah, okay. Look, it being a Xero focused workshop, I assume that most people are going to be on Xero. the integration with NYB is not currently planned at the moment. We've focused on the majority of users that are integrating at this point. And obviously Xero is the market leader by some margin at the moment. And then QBO with the US audience, that was always going to be the next one. Cool. So let's get going anyway. I see a few deck stuff in there as well, and that's something we're going to be covering off as well. But Don, if I maybe throw to you, so Don's going to give a bit of an intro first. So we obviously, guys, we're going to dive into the hands-on stuff, but we need to kind of set the scene and talk you through kind of why we do certain things. So that's where Don's going to kick off from.
So share screen.
Yeah, can see it, mate.
Everyone see that? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Good there.
Great. So good morning, everyone. Glad to be here today. As Julian has created this workshop, is as interactive as possible. So stop along the way, ask questions, and we'll try and get things answered as we go. And obviously there'll be plenty of time at the end to have a chit chat. I guess we've already sort of touched on who we are and what we do. But we do have a construction industry focus, and what we find working with the building industry at the moment is just as much about integration as doing bookkeeping and payroll and just keeping track of the numbers. It's like a full rounded thing these days for a bookkeeper. So look, today I'm going to sort of just touch a little bit on, it's around the technology integrations and processes that Julian's already mentioned, but just wanted to discuss a little bit up front about financial controls, why they're so important, how important it is to be accurate in what you're doing, and just a little bit about the importance of the know your numbers, know your profits, and how the data has to be accurate for you to be able to understand those things. So I guess the financial journey, every business starts and every business ends, but from day one, you have to have financial controls. And it's probably even more interesting in the building industry because there's so many costs and the projects are worth so much money. So the initial issues that we see that we'd like people to resolve, and these sort of integrations we're talking about today will help with financial clarity. They will help bill and time data collection easy, not hard. And tracking costs against a job will be made easy. And financial controls, when it's not done or it's hard to do, it's just the financial systems are just inaccurate, and then we're making decisions on bad data, and we don't even really know where we are on our jobs. So, and it all is very inefficient too, which then takes more time, more money, more frustration. So setting up strong financial controls and processing things properly is very important. I guess a few data principles these days, and I don't know, I'm a bit of a geek, so I get stuck in this sort of area a little bit. It's how you collect and store the data that matters. So if you collect it and store it easily, then it's easy to push through the systems, and then it's easy to analyze. So you've just got to set up systems and processes around that to make it easy. It's got to be comprehensive. So whatever process you choose, try and do the same process for every type of expense in your business. Implement these online systems we're going to talk about today to record and hold the data. You don't want to have to be printing pieces of paper anywhere. You just want to be getting it electronically and pushing it through electronically and making decisions in the software. Using OCR, optical character recognition, for people that don't like TLAs or three-letter acronyms. But so it's with in the bookkeeping industry now, it changed a while ago, but this software reads the piece of paper for us and kind of tells us to 99% accuracy, and if you're using the right software, of what the piece of paper is actually for. So there's a lot of data entry taken away now, which is awesome. We use technology to print spreadsheets. So some people might be doing charge or cost plus jobs and typing numbers onto a spreadsheet and all that sort of stuff. So we just profess use the software to print your spreadsheets with the numbers on it rather than typing your numbers onto the spreadsheet. So use technology to help you get it right, and move the data through all your systems seamlessly. And now thanks to Buildxact for solving the two-way sync for us, we can actually do that now because we can have one data entry point. Now it's a reality now, which is just awesome. And just like in our business, be data managers, not data enterers. Data entry, you'll never be 100% accurate. I don't care who you are. You're going to make a mistake sooner or later. And it's just a matter of how big it is. So manage the data, don't type it in. Let the technology do all the hard work anyway. You just want to view, it's just like, and someone else is typing it for me, just make sure it's right. So there's a few principles there to use technology in the right way. And there are people around that can help you understand how to implement it best as well. But you'll see some of that today with the demonstration that Natalie will do. I guess set up the financial controls for your business, just to touch on a few things that are important when you're starting out in business or you're engaging someone to help you. Just make sure your chart of accounts within your accounting software is structured. So you've got a definite split of your direct costs and overheads, because you have to analyze those differently when you're looking at the numbers. Make sure you're doing job by job tracking everywhere, not just in Buildxact. Make sure you're doing it in Xero and everywhere. Make sure you've got job codes and your cost categories sorted. You want to have multiple points where you can assess the data as well, and it allows you to cross-check things. Tracking the job financials is very important. Obviously, over the last 5 or 10 years, it's a big thing that people are using job management systems, but not costing or cost tracking or whatever you want to call it. So we're using it for management, but not cost tracking. And it's crucial and I think everyone's starting to jump on the bandwagon now about having to do that. So use purchase orders, create a variation process. Make sure you're allocating the cost to the correct category. That's crucial. Otherwise, you'll never know how you've gone on each individual part. But Dan will touch on all this stuff later for you in a lot more depth than I am here. And be consistent. Try and use the same job number in all systems. So try and use the same cost categories across all systems. And even when you're estimating, I know with Buildxact it's kind of easy because you get the estimating, you convert to a job, you're not sort of importing anything from outside the world. So that makes it a lot easier. But set all this stuff up right. So when we do get the data in there, we can get it in the right spot. And then when you get your team to analyze the profits and the jobs and how they're going later on, which again is Dan's going to talk about, it's just all in the right spot. So collect the data easily and get it in the right spot. And that's what our business, that's what our focus is, and that's what we'll talk about here. So look, most people have said Xero on that first little chat, and people have mentioned Dext. And look, technology makes it easy, but you've still got to have the systems and processes built around that technology to make things successful. So with Dext, you've got to use it the right way, and Xero, and also with Buildxact. So you've got to learn how to use it properly, as well as just setting it up. But this is a great, what they call tech stack. Deputy is still there. We're hoping for it to maybe replace that later, but it's getting some time built in. A lot of people use work orders to put the costs on the job rather than Deputy. So there's a couple of different ways you can do time recording as well. So I'll quickly flick it to another screen and sort of step through each of these 3 systems here now. So with Dext, people might use HubDoc. I think there's Easy Bills. The old way we used to do it was we put it in an Outlook folder and just store it there. There's people maybe just emailing invoices straight into Xero or QBO or MIOB for that case as well. They all work the same way in that way. But just want to talk about Dext if people aren't aware of what Dext is. So it used to be called Receipt Bank, and I believe that's a better name for it, because you bank up, and every moment activity within your business is paperwork's coming at you in all different forms, mainly electronic these days, but you're getting invoices, you're getting receipts when you're out there spending money, you got staff with reimbursements for things for the jobs, you've got all this stuff going on. And it'd be great just to have one place to put it all that's easy to use. So, and it is that one of the biggest problems we have to solve when we start with a new client is getting all the paperwork so we, the bookkeepers, can see it all. And that's when we started using Dext probably 8 or 9 years ago, I think it was now. It was about getting it all there. And you can have multiple users. So you can have your employees as users in here too, and they can only see their own paperwork. But if they're trying to do a reimbursement, they can communicate that here as well. So Dext is a phone app as well as a browser app. So any app that you use, just make sure it works everywhere, right? That's the goal of apps. So if you take a photo in the Dext app, it goes straight into the product. You can forward emails in there. You can drag and drop PDFs. What you're just trying to do is every time a piece of paper happens, you just put it in there. So when I'm at the service station, for instance, and I'm buying petrol, I just take a photo on the Dext app and throw the piece of paper out. Because Dext is your filing cabinet now. You don't need a physical filing cabinet for not for paperwork, maybe for plans and a few other things if there's still paperwork, but it's still on paper. But for accounting purposes, no, you don't need. And the Dext and Xero are both approved by the ATO as a filing cabinet for your documents, as long as you can produce them when you need them, and they're all organized in these products anyway. So by just using these products, you're nailing a few things. I guess Dext is the main way people, when they come to us, are they're storing things in an accounts inbox, like a to be paid, or creating all these little folders in. And then when it comes time to do the bookkeeping, then they start typing or pushing documents around. So this, if you think of this as a different way, you can automate this as much as you want. You could even put an auto forward on your accounts inbox to go straight into Dext, and then you review everything in there. You don't even need to review your accounts inbox. What you lose a little bit there is if someone sends a message with a piece of paper, so that you just got to be careful of that. Look, it's anyone sort of doing the typing in these softwares these days. You really need to jump on something to help you with the typing. No one should be doing the shoebox and typing things in anymore. And look, this system is so simple. You'll see it. It is so simple and easy to use. It's like crazy way people don't just do it every day. It's like everyone should put this on Channel 9 or something and just tell everyone about it, because it makes life so simple and it's fast to use. And it's doing all the typing. It's doing 90% of the typing for you. So you're getting a lot more out of it. The other thing about
Don, it's not even just the construction industry. This, right? Dex is used on
everywhere,
all industries everywhere. So it's not, they've got a fair bit of weight behind them.
Oh yeah, so it's a worldwide company. I think it started in England, and it's every industry. We use it for every client, not just not building and construction. So it just solves that whole paper problem, and very, very good for things like restaurants as well, because you can split things that are GST and not GST quite easily, and those industries have a lot of that, whereas building industry doesn't really have a lot of that. But yeah, so it's worldwide, every industry. We use it for every client that works with us.
Yeah, and Dan, you guys are the same, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm really glad you sort of brought this up, Don, too. I mean, just for everyone online here, I mean, if you're entering invoices manually or keystrokes or anything like that, it is a tremendous waste of time. You're doing yourself a disservice, probably your bookkeeper, or a better half of the service if they're entering data. Get onto the technology bandwagon. I mean, AI and tech and all the rest of it's amazing. I know it can be a little bit daunting, but it's hard to break this stuff. Absolutely give it a go. Work on the business a bit. It's a really powerful tool, and if you don't use this sort of stuff, you get left behind. So really good, Don. I can't stress it enough.
So Dext works off a few things. Dan mentioned AI. It also remembers what you did last time. You can also set up supplier rules, so it gets it right every time. There's lots of things it does that we'll talk about a little bit when we jump in there. It also does, you can do your ABN checks, which is crucial with your subcontractors these days. And look, it's just an additional source point of when did I physically get that document? Because it'll store the date that you put it in to Dext. So you can know, like, if you're on a weekly bookkeeping cycle, you can see week by week when the invoices first turned up. Because you can put drafts into Xero and delete them. I'm sure you can delete stuff out of Buildxact too, and there's just no history. But with this one, there's history tracking of when it turned up and things like that as well. So it's just another point where you can sort of help yourself out there. It's duplicate checks, which is crucial as well. So there's for the subcontractor that sends you the invoice to remind you 7 days before payment to pay it, 6 days before payment, 5 days before payment. By the time you actually pay it on its due date, you've probably received the bill 10 times. And if you're using something like Dext, it can cull the other 9 and only push one through. So you don't run the risk of paying things twice as well. Again, there's different rules and way you set that up. So we just love this tool. We wouldn't do bookkeeping these days without it. Cool.
Don, before you move ahead there, there's just Lee's just asked about Dext.
Oh yeah, cool.
We just need Dext Prepare as a question.
Yeah, so Dext Prepare. Dext has 3 products. One's purely for e-commerce. They've got another product called Dext Prepare, which is this one that I'm talking about. And there's one called Dext Precision, which we use as bookkeepers because it audits your data to see if there's any problems with the data in your Xero file for us. So that's for usability for you within your business, it's only Dex Prepare, but your accountant or bookkeeper may use Precision. Yeah.
And from Wayne,
So Dex Prepare is the old Receipt Bank, if anyone knows Receipt Bank. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a question from Wayne there around currently using HubDoc and how easy it is to move over to Dex.
That's easy. Yeah. Look, HubDoc's a free one that goes, like Dex will cost you and HubDoc's free, but the cost is so minimal it's irrelevant. And when we show you the screen, every client of ours says that is so easy to look at and that is so easy to use. And that's why we use Dex. So it's very easy to move. So, and HubDoc's free anyway, so you're never going to lose your paperwork, right? You just leave it there. And then you just start using Dex. And then you reintegrate and you integrate Dex to Xero. Yeah. So HubDoc to Dex is easy.
Awesome.
Cool. Anyway, we'll talk more about questions on Dex later if anyone's got them. A bit about, I guess, the accounting space. Probably, well, in Australia, Xero's just leading this space. I mean, MYOB and Reckon had market share, I don't know, 10 years ago. And then Xero came and it's just taken over. And the reason it has it because it integrates with everything. And as you can see with even with Buildxact, who do they choose to integrate with first? Xero. So and that's what all software houses choose. So Xero is great because no matter what you choose to use, you won't have to change your accounting software. We use Xero within our business because it's also the quickest to use because time is money when we're working for people. And we find Xero, and this is 20 employees of mine all agree with me, Xero is the easiest to use. Okay, so that's why we use it. QBO is also big though because QBO runs America, right? It's the American side of things. QBO is enormous over there, and Xero are trying to crack the market, but everyone just uses. They went from Reckon, whatever it was called, QuickBooks over there. Sorry, it was Reckon out here, but QuickBooks over there to QuickBooks Online, and so it's easy to integrate with as well. In Australia, though, Xero is definitely set up more for the way we do things with GST and BAS and all that sort of stuff. That's why we recommend Xero. Dan, do you have anything to comment on that, or as to what's easier or best?
Sorry, Don, they cut out for a little bit there, mate. Can you just repeat that one? Apologies. I had some
So
feedback
just comparing Xero to QBO, and we were just saying that how easy Xero is to use. We find that within our team, and it's probably more suitable for the Australian market around GST and things like that as well, because it's built for Australia. It's built for Australia and New Zealand first, then the rest of the world.
Yeah, I appreciate that chuck across, Don. I mean, there's quite a few accounting packages out there. I mean, I'm just trying to be a bit careful with what I say too, but I mean, we are a Xero accounting firm. I mean, the way it sort of acts and operates, how it can plug into everything else. It has an open API connection. Buildxact can obviously plug into it nicely. Deppy and a few other programs. Highly portable. We love it. We love it. QuickBooks, I think, Don, to your point, is probably more suited to the American market. But yeah, we love Xero. It's easy, portable, whether you're the advisor, data entry, and individual, whoever it is. Yeah, it's great.
Thanks, Dan. So just sort of going down the list here. Now, when we're doing the bookkeeping and accounting stuff and pushing the piece of paper through, there always has to be one source of truth for accounting information. So, and we say that the accounting system, so Xero in this case, is the source of truth. So Dex helps you put it in there, but Buildxact only needs a subset of the accounting information because all your overheads and business costs and whatever else you do within your business need to get to Xero, but then you need to get the subset to Buildxact. So what I mean by that is if you're going to do anything to an invoice or a bill, you do it in Xero first and then make sure Buildxact is correct. So if we push a bill to Buildxact and you think, oh no, that's not right, well, don't go change it in Buildxact. Go back, change it in Xero, because if you don't want to pay someone wrong as well, right? So you got to get the source of truth right. So that's probably crucial through just what we're talking about here is make sure Xero is accurate first and then push the subset to Buildxact and allocate it correctly on the jobs. So if you use Dex and Xero and Buildxact all together, you can do job by job analysis within Xero as well. And what we find is sometimes we have to audit Buildxact because someone goes, oh no, the the costs are wrong on the job. We can see that, and maybe a bookkeeper might have done the error. We might have done the error, or someone entering data into Buildxact might have done an error. But the point is that if you're using these three systems together the right way, we can audit Xero against Buildxact and find where the problem is. Is it in Xero or is it in Buildxact? So if you do things, use the systems the right way, you can check yourself as well. You're not sort of getting to the end of the job and having false data. It's like, yeah, so that's probably pretty crucial there, just at that sort of point. So again, I mean, we're going to have a look at Buildxact, and Dan will go through that in a lot more detail. So I sort of won't sort of jump into that bandwagon too much here. Our sort of wheelhouse is just making sure it gets into Dext. We get every piece of paper at the start of the process, get it all into Xero, and then get the subset over there to Buildxact. We'll show you in Deputy sort of how we allocate it when we do that. Sorry, in the demo, sorry, not in Deputy. In the demo, we'll show you how we do that. Sorry about that. Probably a good time to segue.
Don, before we get stuck into that, just I just want to cover off some of these questions that we've got here.
Cool.
So Tanya mentioned, Tanya, I think I've seen you on a webinar before, so welcome back. The name rings a bell. Minimal subscription cost. How much actually is Dext roughly a month?
It depends. If you go to your accounting and bookkeeping firm, they might get a bulk deal for their practice, so it might be a little bit cheaper in that case. But at the very low level, it's I don't know. I think if you go direct to Dext, it's probably about $30 a month at the low level. And then the more documents you use, the more expensive it gets. But within our practice, we get one bulk fee, and we just charge our clients a fixed fee every month, and it's minimal. It's low. It's not high at all. It's a lot cheaper than Xero or anything like that. So.
And then Tyson's asked, does Dext recognize the job that the invoice relates to?
It's getting better at it. Eventually, one day it will. But our job as data managers, you'll see with the integration when Natalie demonstrates it in a minute, that if you've got your job number in Xero, your job number's in Dext in a drop-down menu. So you still don't have to, it'll try and recognize it, but if it doesn't, you've just got to click drop-down job. It's 2 clicks to fill it in. So it's simple even if it doesn't, but it's getting better with job numbers, yeah, because it reads all the accounting information great, because these things started as accounting add-ons, not necessarily job things. We've just converted in using it intensely for jobs as well. But yeah, so the AI and all that's making that a bit easier as well. It'll have a guess at what job it thinks it is.
Yeah.
So it's getting better. We've noticed a big change in the last probably 2 or 3 months with the AI stuff, helping us suggest a job, but it's only click to add the job. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kelly's just mentioned there, if something's updated in Dext, it pushes through to update to Xero and Buildxact. So Dext to Xero, Xero to Buildxact.
Yes, correct. And you can automate things as much or as little as you want.
Aaron's asking, does Dext replace the receipt entry function in the Xero app?
Yes.
Yeah. And
yeah, we don't recommend emailing straight into Xero or using the phone app or anything like that. It gets it straight into Xero as a draft, but you miss all the benefits of Dext. You've got an additional filing cabinet. 2, it's doing ABN checking and duplicate checking and all that sort of stuff. I know you get a warning in Xero if it thinks it's a duplicate, but it's easy to miss a warning when you've got 1,000 invoices to do. So
just cover a couple more here, Don. They'll move into the demo because we're keen to get going into the how-to stuff. So do you need to use the project section in Xero to track the jobs through Xero as well as Buildxact?
No, don't use projects in Xero.
Yeah, that's
Buildxact is doing that. No, don't use projects. Is always set up for people that want to know. Projects was set up for consulting businesses like mine. Okay, and Xero kind of try and help out by getting people to run their building projects in there. But Buildxact, and there's others in the market obviously as well, but job management systems are for job management. Don't try and do job management in Xero. Xero is an accounting software. It's not a job management software. And that's what projects is trying to do, is it's trying to do job management or cost management in Xero, but do it in Buildxact.
Yeah, good summary.
And that goes for anyone else using Workflow Max as well.
No, yeah, seriously, same conversation. I mean, people have tried to use that for job management as well. And it's just not it's built for accountants and bookkeepers. It's not built for construction industry.
Exactly.
Use construction. One thing about technology I've learned, and we do it across a lot of industries, is use tried and tested industry specific apps. So if you want to do data collection, use Dext or HubDoc or EasyBills. If you want to do accounting, use Xero, MYOB or QuickBooks. If you want to do job management, use Buildxact. If you want to do rostering, use Deputy. I mean, it's use the apps that are specialists in the industry and are well known and have lots of legs. You don't want to be a test bunny for someone.
Yeah. And last one, Don, before we move over from Zane, can we do asset management in Xero, like asset valuation?
Xero's, Dan, you might be able to talk about that a bit better than me in assets, but
yeah, it's Zane, I think that's come from. Look, it's a bit of a complex one. I mean, short answer is yes, particularly in that service-based industry, but I imagine there'd be a tremendous amount of work papers in the background for any asset valuation purposes. I mean, projects would be a little bit better for that. I probably wouldn't recommend tracking categories or something like that, but it depends on the complexity of the business as well. If you don't mind me saying, probably a little bit off topic for the building construction, but we've got a QR code at the end if you want to scan it. More than happy to have a chat on that one, mate. No problem.
Awesome. Should we get going, Don, on the demo side?
Yep, sure. Yep, sure. I got to stop sharing so Natalie can share. Hang on. So sorry about the technology guy that can't get this to work. Stop share. Oh, hang on.
I can stop you sharing if you want me to.
Yeah, can you do that? Oh, there it is. Sorry, there's the red button, not the green one. Red for go. Go away. Okay, Natalie, you're saying.
Alrighty, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
You as well.
Perfect. All right, so we'll start from Dext and just kind of run through a few of the features we use and kind of like how you can set things up. So this is like your main inbox screen that you'll see when you go into Dext. You can have, if you go down to the bottom here to connections, you can then see where you can sync your software such as Xero and connect them so that they talk to each other. So you can always manage your connection up the top here, refresh if you're finding it's not connected, or you can disconnect if you have a new Xero file that you need to change it over to. So then as you go down, you can see here it's quite customizable as to how and where you want to publish things. So you can publish with multiple currencies. So if you've got your Xero set up to have like lots of different currencies, you can use it there. You can choose where it lands in Xero. So depending on how you will do your bookkeeping process, you can have it go to draft, awaiting approval, awaiting payment, or paid where possible. So it's just kind of depending on how you do your processes and how many people are involved with the process. And then it's same with sales. You can do the same thing. So you can choose where it lands. And then as you go down, you can see here there's quite a few settings. With your taxes, you can then go down to choose to automatically publish. With what we're about to show you, I probably wouldn't do that because then you don't get to change this, like you don't get to allocate the job and everything onto the invoice.
Probably touch on something there, Natalie, I didn't touch on earlier. So with Dext, you can automate it as much as possible, right? So when I get a petrol receipt, I take a photo at the service station, and I've set the automation in my Dext and Xero. It goes all the way, it reads the 4 digits, puts it on the Amex in Xero, and then all I have to do is green tick OK. Okay, so in that case, it's like putting the bill into Xero and approving it. Now, if we look at Buildxact in that process, it would then go to the cost inbox in Buildxact as well. So you can fully automate everything. You can even auto forward your account's inbox to Dext. What Natalie's going to show you is that we actually hold it up at different points in time for a few different reasons. So it's a matter of sort of work out who's involved with the accounts process within your business as to how much automation you want to do. But it's fully hold it up or flow it straight through and work it out on the end.
Yeah, are these probably things that when you first start using Dex, Natalie, you might go, okay,
Yeah,
we're not going to go, we're not going to go and automate everything. We might just go, might be the first bit, and then as we get more and more, comfortable and confident, we just add more layers of automation. Is that, yeah?
Yeah, correct. And you can actually, like Don was just saying, per supplier, you can set up auto publish. You can kind of customize it per supplier as well. So with fuel, if you just want it to go straight to Xero, you can send it straight to Xero. But yeah, you can kind of set it up initially, and then as you go through and find your process, you can come back and date it in there.
Awesome.
We hold it up just to make sure that it's accurate in terms of job costs, and
Checking
it's got a job number, and it's got a job number, and it's on the right direct cost as well for accounting purposes.
Yeah.
So,
and just so I'm across this as well, MYOB and QBO works with both those guys as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Works with all three products. Yep.
Cool.
Awesome. So then as you go down in this this part here, so this is where like Julian was just saying, you can set up your Dex as when you first get it. So you can come through to profile, you can change your system settings to automatically, if it comes through as a receipt, you can automatically have it come up that it's paid. You can change it if you don't want it to, you can just say not paid there as it goes through, and then you can choose your due date. So if you're putting your sales invoices through here, if they're not syncing through your project management system where you're invoicing, you can enter them in here, and you can default how many days they're due. You can kind of customize that there. If you're using Dex for exporting CSVs, you can always you can change the setting here if you want to show the net amount, or if you don't need the net amount, you can turn that off there. And then duplicate. So Don was mentioning this earlier. So Dex has the automatic duplicate reading software, which you can turn off, or you can have it to be reviewed. So if Dex flags something as a duplicate, it will come up as a warning on that invoice saying this looks like something we've already received. Do you think this is a duplicate? So this can be handy for if you've got things like progress claims where the supplier always sends through something that looks quite the same each time, and Dex picks it up as a duplicate. If they're just changing one little thing, it can kind of get flagged. So if you turn this review on, it will then flag it up and say, hey, this is a duplicate. Do you agree? And you can say yes or no. And it will archive if you think it is. Otherwise, you can leave it on as automatic duplicate checking, which means it'll just archive anything that it picks up as the same thing. Keeping in mind that if it's a receipt and an invoice, then it will still put it both through because they don't look the exact same. So that's that part. They have recently introduced auto categorization. So this is where Dex is using its AI to read over the invoice and kind of make a judgment on where it should be categorized to. You'll see when it's done that, it has this little symbol, looks like a brain. It will show up on the cost code chart of account job if it's picked up on that for you, which you can turn that on for it to always pick up, or you can leave that off if you want to do it yourself. So just another thing where you can kind of customize how automatic you want everything to be there. And then same with smart suggestions. So this is also the smart suggestions is a new thing, sorry. So this is where they're coming through with trying to find the job name on the invoice and trying to match what you've done previously. And you can turn that on to have for Dex to read the job. And then you can review it once it's picked up on it. Excellent. So you can customize what automatically gets archived. So once you've published it to Xero, it will go into the archive section, which you can then come back and find it later. If you're finding that, if you need to check back on something, you can check the history of how it got into Xero. So you can choose if you want it to be published, archived once it's published, and same with once you've done your reportings as well. And then you can customize how you download your reports and everything as well. Submission history shows where things, like if anything's been added in or deleted. So that just kind of gives you, like, if you're ever trying to find something that you need to look for and it's not in archives, it's probably been deleted. So if you go into that submission history, you'll be able to find anything deleted from there, and you can see the history on that. So then we get to adding a user. So you can have you can add users and you can select their user role as well. So if we were to add myself in, you can go into here and you can customize the person's user. So if you've got like one of your workers, like a subby, an employee that you only want to upload, you don't want them to see everything that you've uploaded, you can come in here and just select them to be a basic user. So you can choose that they can't publish. You can kind of customize what they can see. And then that way they're not going to be able to like see everything you've added in or see everything that's been popped in from the account's email. They'll just see whatever they've uploaded. So that can be handy if you're getting like employees and contractors to use your Dext as well to give you any receipts that are needed. And again, you can kind of, if you have employees that you need to see everything, you can customize it so that they still can't like change the settings and all of that, but they can still see everybody else's stuff in there if they're helping with approvals.
Let's get into the
yes.
good stuff, Nat. That's enough on settings.
Yeah, cool. Sorry. So
there's lots of the point
yeah.
about the settings, I guess, is there's lots of them, but get someone who's done it before to help you set it up. It'll take them 5 or 10 minutes, a few questions, it'll all be set up. So that's just setting up the stuff the right way. Nat, you might just want to put job number on this screen too.
Yeah, I was about to show that.
Oh, you're going to show that. Cool. Right, so let's get into processing some. Good work.
Awesome. So with this part, with the inbox here, you can customize how you see it. So if you go up into table settings, you can choose to see description, invoice, and job name. You can kind of, if you want to add in extras, you can, or you can remove them depending on what you're using it for. But these three are kind of handy to see so that you can have a quick overview without having to click into every single invoice. Sorry, and this one here, which we would usually use as our second level tracking. So from this overview, you can see that these invoices have been added into the inbox. You can see that only one has a job on it and only one has a cost code on it. And we can see that there's some notes in here for you to review. So when you go into to look at the invoice itself, you can click into here, which will then bring up the actual image of the invoice. So for you to review, Dexter's come in for us. We haven't added anything in as of yet. So Dexter's come in and has automatically read all of these settings, all of these items here, and it's filled in as much information as it can. And then we are going to go in and then just fill in the remaining. So you can see it's picked up on the ABN. It's telling you it's registered. If you wanted to confirm, you can always have a look on the ABN website. It's picked up on the reference number. It will try to pick up on a due date, but sometimes it doesn't. So that's when we would go in and set a supplier rule. So supplier rules is where we can go in and say this invoice is always due 7 days after the invoice date. You can come in here and select that. You can, if there's a note where you have to remember something, you can leave yourself a note in the description, and you can just kind of preset anything. So anytime this supplier is picked up, all of this information that you've pre-selected will come up and it will be remembered for you.
And you might default your chart of account or your cost category in Xero here as well. If it's always Bunnings, it might go to materials, for instance. So you can set, it's good practice to set the supplier rules for every new supplier.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So we could do something like that. Yeah. So then if you hit apply, it's going to change. If there was more than one of these suppliers in the inbox, it would change all of them to be the same. So then you just need to flick through and just double check there. So once you're going through, this here is where we were saying we can select the job. it's suggesting that this is the job here for us to choose. So pretend it's the same job. And we would check select Victoria Avenue. You can use this second level tracking either for approvals or cost categories if you would like that setting option to be there. So if you were to use it for approvals, you could select approve, and then that way we know, like if you're using a third party, that way it's a good communication tool. You can leave notes in here for yourself as well, like pay 50%, or disputing, anything like that. You can leave the note in there and it will save. And then you can always make sure your GST is correct using the ABN check there. Down here, you can split out the invoice. So if you have multiple jobs on an invoice, or if you have multiple cost codes, you can come in and you can split as many lines as you need. You can change it. You can have different options there, and then you fill in the data to like split out the amounts for the invoice.
A quick note on job numbers for everyone. You set up your job numbers in Xero and they're automatically indexed. So I believe with Buildxact, we still have to type them into Xero. Once a job gets set up in Buildxact, we then go and put it into tracking categories in Xero, and then it automatically comes into Dext. If anyone's wondering about job numbers. So you've got to set them up in Xero, basically.
You can, per supplier, you can choose if you want it to be where you would like it to go to. So you can make this subby always go to awaiting payment, or you can change them individually, which you can also do that in the supplier rules. And then once you've finished looking over the invoice, and you've got everything in here that you need, you can just scroll down to, sorry, just get rid of this. So you can delete it once you've done it. You can scroll down here and press publish. There's a few places where you can press publish within Dext. So you can press publish here, or if you want to publish them in bulk, you can go next and flick through all 5 and then go back to the inbox and publish them all together. So in this case, if we just hit publish, it will go to 0 and it will move us to the next one. So a few other things to note when you're looking from here. So we can see here this little triangle. It's saying that the supplier isn't present in Xero. So it's just meaning that it's a new contact card. So if you know you've got Bunnings in Xero already, you can know that you need to go and merge the supplier and make sure that that you don't have multiple contacts going on. But otherwise, it's a good indication that you might need to go update your contacts in Xero when you get to that.
Yeah, and within this product too, for everyone, if it comes in as Bunnings Trade or Bunnings Mona Vale or Bunnings Hornsby or Bunnings Central Coast, if you just want it as Bunnings, you can actually set that in Dext to say all of those iterations they'll always be put as Bunnings, because it's always good to have the same supplier name through all 3 systems as well. So you can fix that in Dext. So you can join them or not join them. It's up to you.
Yeah, so you can go in the suppliers, you can go click in here and then merge, and then that would merge them into the one, and then Dext will remember that for next. Okay, I think that's the main thing. So when you see these review here, so Dext has struggled to pick a category for this one here. It's probably not seen this invoice before. So if you see that, like a yellow exclamation mark, it just means Dext needs some help putting in some extra information. So we will just go in here and choose the subcontractor or the category, sorry, to make sure it lines up with your invoice. And then we can see that that warning's gone away. So generally then from next time, Dext will then remember everything, and it will pick up that it's a subcontractor going forward, which sometimes you may want to change depending on your chart of accounts and things like that. But yeah, I think that's it for Dext. Don, did you have any other points?
Yeah, no, probably publish them across now to Xero. And
awesome.
If anyone's got any further questions on this later, obviously those QR codes are going to be at the end anyway. So just ring and You can just ring me and ask me questions if there's something not covered here.
So this is our bulk publishing. So we can, so this one here, yeah, we can go in here, publish. As a bulk, you can leave behind if you don't want to, you can kind of choose what you would like to be sent. These all will land in the archive. So once they've been published, you'll see them come into the archive, which then you can come in here. You can do advanced searching. So if you need to go find something by a job or by a supplier, you can come in and search through Dex, because once you've used it for a while, you'll have a lot of stuff in there to search. So that way you can, it's pretty easy to find things once you, if you need to go look for things. Alrighty, so in Dex, our setting was to send it to awaiting approval, which is where these have landed. If yours was awaiting payment, then it would be in there, or draft. You've just got to know where your settings were to send it. So we've, now that we've got it all in here, you can click into here. We can see that the information has come across from Dex. So we've got our chart of account, we've got our physical receipt. The reference number here indicates that Dex didn't pick up on a reference number being a receipt, so there wasn't an invoice number. So Dex will then just choose an RB, like it will just make its own number up there, which you can then change that if you would like. But that's just, it's like an automated number that Dex will make. So you can go in here and approve, and then you can go and approve in bulk the other invoices that you have in awaiting payment. And then from there, awaiting approval, sorry. And then from there, you can do like your normal bookkeeping process that you guys would follow generally. So you can approve in bulk, like so. And then if you were leaving this one to question it or whatever, you could always, like, you can do it one by one if need be. So once you have approved everything in Xero, it will then, provided your two-way integration has been turned on, it will then sync across to Buildxact. So with Buildxact, we can go into your integrations. This is where we can see if we've got our Xero connected to Buildxact at all. So if you can always disconnect, reconnect, or connect it in the first place. If you do connect it to Xero, it will turn on a 2FA. Which will just mean anyone that logs in needs to have their two-factor authentication working. So then if we go into settings, we can change how things are integrated. So the first settings is the syncing from Buildxact to Xero, which looks similar to how it was looking before the two-way integrations were. So you can come in here and change your GST, what account it goes to, if you're syncing it just the invoices, or if you're syncing the purchase orders as well, which if you're using the Xero to Buildxact, I think we can leave that off and then just use your Xero to Buildxact settings to have that syncing across. So if we go here to the new settings here, you can see here, this is where you would tick to allow the bills to be imported. So that there is turning on the integration. If you have a specific like code that you like, chart of account or anything that you would like it to use, you can come in here and you can choose it to always be one. Otherwise you can use, you can leave it blank, and then it will come through just default. Job name, so you can choose where the tracking categories, where the jobs are connecting to. So because we have our two-factor turned on, we had job name, and then whatever you were using the second one for. So you can have approval, you can have your cost codes, but in this example, we're going to connect it to the job name. And then this would then link to your cost codes if you had that in the second level tracking. You can also choose to have the attachments come through from Xero when it syncs across, which then they will go into the attachments on the job. So if we go and save our settings now, we can go up to the job section. So if you've got your jobs listed, which is normally where you would see your big list of jobs here, you can go down to imported bills. And if we do a little refresh, we can now see all of our bills that we approved in Xero before have come across and are now sitting in here. Keep in mind, this does include overheads. So you will have to, if you've got any overheads in here that you're not tracking on the job, you can come across here and just ignore bill. If that was a fuel receipt that was getting tracked to the job, obviously you could assign it to the job. So in this case here, we would suggest, if you're using purchase order matching, to have two Buildxact screens open, because then you can go into the job itself and you can see if you've got any purchase orders here that you're going to match for, like progress claims for subcontractors, anything like that, that you can then see if there's anything that you need to apply it to an already existing purchase order. So for this one here, you can just go down to the job, choose your category. So if it's demolitions, then you can choose your items there, and then we can create the order. So if you used indexed, if you used the cost codes or anything, you could use what you've chosen indexed as the information to where to get that from. And you can copy from Xero itself. And then in here, we can just come in and type in the supplier, if you spell it correctly, and then fill in the contact. So we can see here that the integration has picked up on all of the information about the cost, the GST. It's come in just with its default thing. So if you wanted to change this from subcontractors, you can change it to part received, and then you'd have to go and remove this to change the account that it came from in Xero. But that's more for the accounting software side of things. So this here is your actuals category, where it will sit on the on the estimate, on the budget. And then this is the specifics within that actuals category. So if we pop that here, we can make it received and save and close. And then with this one here, so it's one of our subbies, we know we've got a purchase order for it. So we want to go and apply a partial payment. So we can come in here to our purchase order that we've got. We can go to we can go down to sorry, that was when I was doing my example before. We can go into here, we can add a payment on here. So we can change the amount to be the amount of the invoice, which is 1760, which will then allow us to put a deposit on the invoice. So if you go save as partially received, you can then have that there, and then you can then go and further apply the amount later on the when you receive the final invoice. So from there, you will then go into your actual costings, which you can then see the where the costs are sitting on the budget. And then this is, so then you can see in here, demolitions, we've got our costs sitting here on the budget. We've gone a bit over, and you can have a look there at where the expenses are. Work orders, which is what Don was talking about earlier for the labour, you can record that there. And then we can see our purchase order that we created from the integrations before. So because we added this one on as a partial payment, we won't want to create a new order because we've already got it in as an order. So you can ignore this bill and it go away. And then you just go until it's cleared out. So anything will show up in here from Xero that's been interacted with in the last 30 days. So anything, if you've left it till 31 days, then it will disappear out of the inbox. So it's just a good, if you keep on top of it, you'll know what you need to add onto the job. And you can also split the lines here if you need to split out the costs as well. Is there anything else, Tom, that I missed potentially?
Right.
I might just jump in here as well, as there's a few questions in the chat regarding linking invoices or receipts to an existing purchase order. At this stage, the two-way integration is such that it will create a new purchase order rather than linking to an existing one. However, we are planning on expanding the functionality of this feature so that it does link to existing purchase orders in the near future.
Yeah, that's great, Ryan. Excellent.
That will be good.
Thanks, Ryan.
We all want that.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
amazing.
definitely do that.
Especially by having Ryan is great on this because he can provide these answers that I don't necessarily know and I just speculate.
Yeah. Also, I just want to touch on Carla's question that stated when importing the bill into Buildxact, we want to be able to apply it to a cost line item, not just a cost category, and certainly that is possible. So within the actual screen here, you'll see that the bill from Bunnings has come through. The idea here is then to select the job as is being done on the screen now. You can certainly then select the cost category that the entire bill relates to, and then you can select the specific item so that when it is pulled into Buildxact on the actual costing screen, you will see that cost tracking come to life at a line item level. I also just want to make the point as well that underneath this bill that we're looking at right now is the whole bill. There is the facility to view line items on that specific bill. In this case, there's just that one item. But if there were multiple items, you could actually create purchase orders relevant to specific line items that have been imported from Xero in terms of, the list of items that are on that bill. So you can do it at a whole bill level. You can also break it down into those individual line items that are on the bill that's been imported from Xero.
More information, the better that you pass on to Dan in the analysis side. So we recommend if you can go the full level down, go the full level down. Yes, so the more information, the better. Dan? That's
right. Additionally, as well, I just want to say that there is also the functionality that you can import not just the bill, but also the attachments, the file attachments that are entered into Xero. So if you do have attachments such as this one, when you create that purchase order, that attachment will be saved as a record in the purchase order screen as well. So you do have that kind of accountability of actually seeing those documents related to specific purchases, all saved securely within Buildxact by way of the integration.
Excellent.
Cool. Don, did you have any other points for Buildxact?
No, I think you can probably stop sharing and.
Yeah, I can stop sharing.
Yeah, it's a good point you raised, Don. I mean, going down to that line item level is super important. I mean, if you work with us, it's a bit of a non-negotiable. It's such a powerful feature, Buildxact. So well done there, Don and your crew for testing it. Awesome.
Yeah. So sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more accurate your estimates are, the less you should have to worry about, over budgeting or under budgeting on these bills when they actually come through. So if you're using any of the supplier integrations we've got there, like we talked about Bunnings there, but we've got Mitre 10, the stores integrate their price files into Buildxact as well. So as long as you're using correct up-to-date pricing, and there's no actual errors on the job resulting in incorrect labor and stuff, hopefully you won't be seeing big blowouts coming from that. But Don's got the kind of the workflow of how that actually all goes through ends up into Buildxact from actually just getting that paper invoice or email sent through at the very beginning.
Yeah, so as I said, like there's been a few instances there when Natalie said if you don't do it within 30 days, it goes away, all this sort of stuff. So it's just remember creating a system around the technology is what you really need to do, and every finance person will say, well, do it as often as you can. at least weekly, you know what I mean? You want everything up to date at all times so you can make decisions, right? And Dan will obviously felt that one home a few times, but the more often you can update it, the better. So make sure whatever you decide, you're doing the same thing regularly. Mainly within our business, it's weekly because of the relationship we've got. But if you're doing it within your business, you might even do it daily. But it's sort of the more regularly you do it, the better. And just use the technology, the power of the different technologies.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Sorry, Julie.
Yeah. Should we get into closing the loop out with the cost tracking and the?
Yeah. So, and that's where we're sort of going now with it. That I guess know your numbers and know your profits. These two screens added together, I guess it's like the importance of the accuracy of what we've just spoken about is crucial. And from our point of view, there's no point analyzing anything if your data's not correct. So you'll never know your numbers. You'll never know all the different items listed on that screen if you haven't got the data accurate in the first place. And then obviously there's plenty of things that's on everyone's mind about their own profit and things like that. But if your numbers are accurate, you can actually think about how much money you're making as well. And everyone wants to know the cost to complete projects and how much money is mine. But it all comes down to the accuracy of the data before you even try and analyze it, because you can't analyze stuff that's wrong. Garbage in, garbage out kind of concept. So Dan, that's probably a good time for me to sort of stop sharing because I know where the button is now. And I found the button.
Tag out, tag in.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, guys, there are some questions there. If you can just hang tight on the questions, we'll do a big Q&A session at the end, just because obviously some people are waiting to hear Dan sort of close out the loop and making sure we keep, you know, on the profit side. So any of those unanswered questions, we'll just cover up those at the very end.
All right, awesome. All right, Don, that was an awesome presentation, guys. Thanks for going through the setup. I mean, there's just everyone on the panel too, and I guess everyone joining in. There's been a tremendous amount of effort and time and labor and testing getting this up and out of the ground. I think it's a fantastic functionality. If you're not getting amongst it and using it, definitely find the time to do it because you'll be doing yourself a disservice if you don't get amongst it, test it out. And if you're not leveraging technology into your business, AI, tech, cloud-based software, all that sort of stuff, you'll absolutely get left behind. So a lot of big businesses do this, and all we're trying to do is replicate big business thinking, big business systems to smaller businesses and make it really and highly accessible. So absolutely make the effort, guys. You know, carve out a couple of hours on a Saturday morning or something, or Sunday night, whenever it best fits, and definitely give it a whirl. And Don and his team are absolutely experts in that bookkeeping space. They dominate it. So definitely scan that QR at the end and definitely have a chat. Worst case, you burn half hour. Best case, you jump on board and away you go. So a little bit about me, and I wouldn't mind just lensing into this next section. So we've been working with Buildxact in the background for a number of years now. We've developed this dashboard. And essentially the way it works is that, and I see this all the time, builders go out there, they build out these beautiful quotes. You know, they go for line on, you know, forever and ever and ever, and lines and tapware and fixtures and fittings, rough-ins, all that sort of stuff. And then as soon as the contract gets wet ink, you get the job out of the ground, measurement stops. So if you're charging your client $600,000 for a job, $500,000 in cost, you got $100,000 in profit. You go, well, Dan, how do I sort of make sure I'm making that money? How do I know where the errors and hits are coming? Well, you start by micro measuring it. And that goes all the way upstream to when the job comes out from the estimate, you make sure that's really tight. And when costs are flying everywhere, you use Dex or a good bookkeeping team like Don and his crew, make sure the data is really accurate. And then you should have your finger on the pulse of those jobs for the entire builder, know exactly where they're up to. I mean, because builders' margins aren't tremendous. I mean, if you go to a legal firm, you know, they'll make 60 or 70 cents per dollar for every dollar that they charge, whereas builders are commonly around that sort of 20-cent mark. It's not a lot of wriggle room to play with. And particularly when you have big projects on the go, you can get a bit desensitized to big incomes and lumpy payments that come in. But again, there's not a lot that sort of trickles down at the bottom. So the whole philosophy behind this dashboard is that as long as you have good data, so as Don said before, rubbish in, rubbish out, but if you have really good data, you should be able to remove that gut feel and emotion and go, oh my God, how's my business running? You know, look at my bank account, all there's money in there. It must be right, there's no money. It might not be. I mean, there's a whole separate section on this. But part of that, which I guess sort of leads to the success of your business, and I guess whether you have a profitable job is going, well, is my job by job profitability okay? Are we running over? Are we running under? How do I see that, Dan? Well, it starts by having really good data in the first place, using Dex, Xero, Buildxact, and you go, well, how do we sort of bring that all together and go, well, how much money have I spent? What am I cooking? What am I gaining? And what does my cash flow look like? So I probably wouldn't mind, guys, maybe just chucking up a bit of a question in the panel. Wouldn't mind getting some numbers here. this is the landing page that everyone's probably really familiar with. This is a bit of a dummy account, and I'll be really quick, guys, so I'm getting a bit mindful of time. But there is this new section up the top here which says reports. So maybe just chuck in the chat. I'm sort of curious to see how many people have sort of clicked on this link, had a look at it, because there's some pretty powerful reporting here. And I'm trying to remove the bias because Xact Accounting have obviously inputted into it. But how many people have actually clicked on this link and had a bit of a playthrough on that? So just chuck in some comments there, guys. I'd love to know, but I'll sort of charge on with this next section here. So when we talk about business, there's upstream and there's downstream. So upstream is, sales and marketing, social media, get the lead in, the client's engaged, do the estimate, get the contract, and cash starts flying everywhere. So this dashboard down the bottom is all around sort of protecting your margins, protecting your profits. So this is all the way downstream in the process. So if you have average or subpar processes upstream, your estimate's not great, or your processing's not great, or you're doing square meterage and you're quoting, this would be useless. So this dashboard is to reward those people that have good data, big business thinking integrated into their systems and processes. And out of that comes facts and figures. And you know exactly how your projects are sort of tracking overall. So bear with me on this, and let me just sort of take this through. But this is entirely embedded in Buildxact, and it is split into 3 sections. So the way this works is that for any current jobs that you have on the go, it will appear here overall. So in this instance here, this is a dummy company, so there's no sensitive information here. This builder has 3 jobs on the go, and this is a bit of a summary view. So this is highly portable. You can select or deselect. Everyone on the chat at the moment has access to this as well. So all you got to do is log in, click on reports, and you'll have this yourself. When you do log into this for the first time, you'll probably see that there'll be some very crazy numbers up here, which is fine, because depending on how you're using Buildxact in the background as well, it will really affect how this data is displayed. So what I probably recommend initially is that if you have got some wild numbers in here, probably draw a bit of a line in the sand, and then when you sort of sign your next job, be really diligent on that data processing piece, and then you'll get some really good clarity out of this. So let me just take you through this at a high level. There is a separate webinar on this on our website, or if you want a copy of it, definitely send it through. But the way this section works is it goes, well, how much profit are we planning to make out of each of these jobs? And again, Jules, Don, Matt, if you guys want to jump in, ask any questions, definitely pull me up, otherwise I'll charge on. So we have 3 jobs here, and in my world, I couldn't really care about the revenue you're going to make on this project. What I care about is the profit and keeping it under the microscope. So in this instance here, this builder has 3 jobs on the go, and this is all data from Buildxact, so nothing to do with Dex or Xero at this stage. So in this instance here, this builder's hoping to make $120,000 in gross profit. This data is all live, and as of right now, this project's gone terribly for this builder. So as you can see here, they're planning to make $120,000. This $134,000 isn't what they've spent. This is actually the profit that they've given away. So they're actually overspending on this project overall, and they've actually torn up that $120,000. So you're actually running this at a loss. So this is a nightmare, this one. You scroll on a little bit further down, this job here, they're hoping to make 161. They're actually tracking really well overall. They've only given away $2,000 worth of profit. So the margin's going from 24.8%, and they've given a little bit away, but we're only part of the way through this job. So we've got to keep an eye on this one because it's already cooking. So this here gives you a bit of a nice summary as to how the jobs are performing overall. It's interactive. You can get rid of old jobs, new jobs, whatever it happens to be. And it gives you a bit of a snapshot, particularly this column here, how the project's going. And if you're getting some pretty serious red ink here, I mean, I've read this, particularly this project, or even this one, because it is starting to go a little bit underwater. What is the go there? What's happening? What's the root cause? And how do we sort of correct the ship? Sorry, guys. Dashboard reports. So coming on further down, this here is just a bit of a visual representation of going on. This is how much profit we're hoping to make. Here are the 3 jobs that are plotted to the right. And then this isn't the spend or what you spend. This is either overruns or underruns. So I probably just wouldn't mind clarifying that quickly before we get down to the detail. If you have a tiler coming into bathroom 2 and you've estimated that you're going to spend $10,000 on that, so that is the cost, and it comes in at $10,000, you're on budget. I couldn't care. You're still going to make money. If that tiler gives you an invoice of $12,000, you're actually cooking $2,000 of your profit. So whatever that sort of under or over is by line item in Buildxact, and I'll go down the screen shortly, that is what's aggregating up in here. Because if you're on budget, well, you're on plan, who cares? If you're running over, you absolutely want to know. But what I'd love to see here, particularly if you add contingencies and all the rest of it in, I'd love to see the black numbers, which means you're actually gaining more profit than you're planning to make, which means you're efficient, you're running lean, high performance team. You're negotiating contracts along the way with sub trades as well. That's what we want to see in here. So this builder here is absolutely in a little bit of hurt, especially this section over here. And this far right hand side, this is the projected profit as of right now. So the data is live. How's that pace, Jules? Is that all right?
Sorry, hit mute button. Yeah, great. There's in the actual job costing section as well, guys, you'll actually see this. If you're actually in the job, this is kind of like a much more detailed version of what you're seeing here. So when we actually start calculating what the actual spend is against the estimates, this is where it will all be pulled from. And then that just is a more in-depth version on that dashboard page. So, and one of the things as well is that when you, like Dan mentioned, if it doesn't look like how Dan is showing you at the moment, just reach out to us, because there's likely been that how you've probably been receiving costs is probably not designed for how this system is going to be pulling that information in. So yeah, just have a chat with us and we can kind of give you some pointers on what you need to be able to do to get it to show that way. Look, for some people, doing this manually was a bit more of a challenge when we launched this sort of towards the end of last year. But now with the accounting integration, it just streamlines that whole process. So it'll take you a little bit of time just to get your head around it for the first couple of jobs. But it's one of those things that as you create these processes, it'll just become second nature to you. And, you know, should anything go wrong at any point in time in a job, by putting this work in at the start, it will help you make better decisions, you know, as you go through. And this is the fairly early iteration of what we're seeing here. So please keep your feedback coming in, because the more feedback we get, the more we can fine tune this over a period of time and add in more and more things that you guys are asking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Jules. So up here is a summary of all your jobs. So you can select them individually and go, am I winning on my scoreboard against my plan? Yes or no? So just to summarize again, no, there's a little bit of hurt. So then we go, well, what is going on up here? So in this middle section here, this starts to get into a bit of the detail, and you do pick this up job by job overall. So whichever one you want to sort of pull under the microscope, you select this out. So we're going to look at J1004 at this stage. And again, all this data comes straight from Buildxact. In this top left-hand quadrant here, this is just the quote, or the original estimate. So this gives you the original project income, 649,000. Any variations you raise along the way, so there's a baby one in here, plus 300, less all your costs. So all the costs come straight out of Buildxact, and we go, right, well, how much gross profit we planning to make? $161,000 out of this build. So this is your budget or your scoreboard, and going, well, that's the money I'm hoping to make at the end of this project. Now, when you flick over to the right-hand side here, we have a bit of a micro cash flow as to what's going on in this build as well. So I know there's a couple of screens in the job platform window, but this here sort of pulls the data together and go, well, this is the maximum amount we can charge a client, unless it's park cost plus invoicing for the moment. But we go, well, this is what's been invoiced to the client, 194,000. So we've still got $454,000 left in the tank yet to invoice. And it just gives you a really clean snapshot of how that cash flow is going. Now, when we change gears and go, well, what's our cash outflow look like? We go, well, we've actually spent $26,000 to date. And then we go, well, how much money have we got left to spend? 464,000. Now, the big difference of this is that it doesn't just give you a cost bucket. It actually measures what you're overspending at a point in time. Because commonly what I see here is that builders will go, well, look, I've got 488,000 left to go. The actual cost over the side here might be, say, 470. Oh, I've only got 10 grand left to go. And then invoices pile in and pile in and pile in. And unless you have a really good open purchase order process, or you're really, really thorough at Buildxact, it can come as a bit of a surprise. So what this does here, it doesn't just go, well, what is the estimate less the total? Well, this here is the total, but it tells you of that you are overspending 2,500. So a super, super, super important number, because this helps you go, well, when invoices start piling in, it's part of the no surprise rule. You can actually see what's coming. So if there is a bus coming, yeah, at least you have the finger on the pulse and you can plan appropriately. And again, that updates live. So every time your bookkeeper or better half, whoever it is, enters an invoice in the decks, this will self-populate too. So when you come down and look at the overall scoreboard and go, well, how am I performing overall? So this is a profit performance today. We're actually tearing up 2,500 on this overall profit here that we're trying to keep. This comes out of the cash flow over to the right-hand side. So our new projected gross profit on this is sitting at 158,000 now. Or instead of making 24.8 cents per dollar of revenue, we're only making 24.4. So you can quickly jump around to each of the projects here and have a look at what is going on. over to the side, and this data is live. So if you aren't using this guide, I'd highly, highly recommend doing it. Really powerful. Heaps of big businesses adopted this method, whether it's Buildxact or another platform. But if I was in your guys' shoes, or I was the owner or whoever it is, I want to know how much money I'm making at any given point in time and avoid the whole back of the beer coaster calculation. So this here is a summary. So if we want to go a level deeper and go, well, where is that number coming from? So keep in mind, it isn't just a cost bucket. That is a bit that's overrunning. If you scroll down a bit further to, I guess, this third subsection down the bottom, this will actually give you all the detail. So there's actually video guides on how each of these work. I won't go into the full detail here, but definitely have a watch of them. I think they're like 4 or 5 minutes each, but check them out. This screen here will look very, very, very similar to the job section over at this side. So just a refresher, this is the estimate. This is how much actual money's come in, and then one minus the other tells you how much money you got left to spend. This here isn't an overspend or an underspend. It's just a total cost bucket. So if you are running over on projects, this is just, well, site prep and demolition is 21, 20 grand left to spend. How are you performing overall? This here will actually tell you where you are overspending and underspending. So I'll probably use a bit more of a detailed job just so it gives us a bit more substance. But as you can see here, with preliminaries, if we pop this one open there, some home warranty that's come in. We got $6,500 here was the estimate. That's how much we're planning to spend. The actual invoices come in a little bit heavy, so it's coming at $7,000. We've actually overspent $500 on that. So I know it's only a small amount, but these individual items here definitely add up and contribute to what's going on up here. So this is probably a bad example. This one's been a nightmare, but you can get a bit of a view. I'm probably less concerned about what you spent, but what I care about is what are you actually on plan and on budget. The other powerful thing that does come out of this as well is that not only does it tell you how much you have spent on the job, and as you can see here, the original estimate was 421,000. You look at this as a builder and go, oh my God, I spent 514. And you might get that through Xero or tracking categories, but you go, oh my God, where's the bottom? Have I got more to spend? I've got 10 jobs on the go. I don't really know what they're up to. Well, this here gives you that clarity. You know, there's another $41,000 coming. So it doesn't necessarily mean that number there is going to get worse. It just means, well, you got $41,000 in open POs. So if you come on down to the bottom here and actually look at this yet to spend column, you can see here with the preliminaries, it's all done. The estimate was this, the actual was this, there's no more yet to spend. But when you are building out individual line items and go, well, there's a swimming pool here, you can see that there's no actual, well, actually, sorry, apologies, there is a little bit of an actual there. You can see the money's coming in. If you pop this one open, you can see there's still $31,000 yet to spend. Where it hasn't been fully received, you can go, well, either the pool's not done on site, haven't received an invoice, so part of that 40 grand above is going to be this. So as long as the invoice comes in at $28,000, and hopefully you got your estimating and RFQs accurate, it's not going to make that number worse, because this is around the profit measurement, not the cost measurement, because it's already factored in by that process. So as you can see here, particularly in this column, it isn't just estimate minus actuals yet to spend. It actually measures the individual line items, which personally I think is pretty powerful overall. So as you can see here, swimming pool, maybe there's some allocation errors, but that's what you want to see. If you are having data entry issues, just allocate that to there, wherever it needs to be. But you start to get some real visibility on how your business is running overall. So just to summarize on this, and I haven't looked at questions, Jules, so apologies for that, but here's a summary. You want to micro measure profit as best you can. Super, super, super important. And you should be rewarded for good data, because data isn't the bookkeeper's responsibility, it's you as a business owner. And if you have good data, well, here's the reward. You can actually see what's going on site for the dollar and cent. Here, you get a bit of a snapshot by project. So what's the scoreboard? How are you traveling? What's your cash flow like on the project, which I think is pretty powerful, because then you can measure that against WIP or cash at bank or your accounts receivable or Xero. And then down the bottom is the nuts and bolts and the detail. And if you want to go into even more detail again, this screen here just mirrors exactly on the job side. So I've punched through that pretty quickly. If you have any questions around it, definitely click on that link, guys. Have a look at the report section. It's available to everyone. There's no additional cost or anything. I'd highly, highly recommend bias aside, getting amongst it and checking it out.
Yeah.
And maybe one quick question. How does that tie it back? Because a lot of builders, it's about work in progress for their home warranty and things like that too, and stuff like that, and tax and whatever else. How does that tie to work in progress if someone wants to know where they're at on each project?
Yeah, it's a good point. We have another dashboard that is actually really close to this, that actually does work in progress. You could do the back of the envelope calculation with this. Let me just share my screen again. But I mean, essentially your work in progress, and again, we have a work in progress calculator on our website, which is universal, we can use it anywhere. But if you're looking at your work in progress, I mean, it gives you your estimate income, what you've actually billed out to the client. And this number here would almost be like, I guess, like your WIP figure, depending if you sort of do it by cost or do it by revenue. I mean, but WIP either sort of hinges around revenue or it hinges around costs. I mean, you sort of calculate it each way. There is a WIP webinar on our site that me and a colleague of mine have done. It goes for about 30 minutes, but watch it at 1.5 speed. And you can almost list the numbers directly from this and drop into that template. There's no WIP integration coming into this one yet, but if you had good data, it'd almost just drop into that WIP calc, to be honest. But I think that's medium to low priority, I think, for the Buildxact guys at this stage.
So maybe someone can QR the code to get that webinar or something off you, so they can at least watch the information. Maybe.
Yeah, Phil, if you're on the call stuff, you can pop the webinar links in there. That'd be awesome, mate.
Yeah, no, good one.
Yeah. One of the things that sorry, Ryan, you're probably about to say something, were you?
Yes, I just wanted to highlight that on the jobs tab within Buildxact, under the more action settings, we do have the option of printing out a job WIP report. So that might be something to consider looking at. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I always say to people as well, like, there's a lot there, guys. So it's probably the most in-depth session that I think we've ever run as a webinar workshop style. So there's a lot of information. That dashboard is quite data heavy, and we're not expecting someone to just start job costing a little more accurately and then all of a sudden be able to open that report up and suddenly start getting everything. So what I always say to people at events and everything is just start on the smaller end first. So start actually properly tracking costs against line items and not just like chucking it in and rolling numbers up and things like that. So get a bit more net on what's happening with those. And then you'll start to see those reports, show more accurate data. There are different situations, people on cost plus, and depending how you've started to receive them in the past will impact what that report is showing. I'm sure I'm okay saying this, Ryan, but reach out to Buildxact if you have any questions or the data is not appearing as you would hope, and we can try and walk you through getting it up and running for it.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of questions coming in on the chat regarding specific instances for the advanced cost tracking dashboard. At any point, whilst you're utilizing Buildxact, you can click on the Need Help button and interact with our support team directly. Also emailing them at support@buildxact.com so that we can have a view of your issue and certainly address it as soon as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, guys, reach out to us, because I mean, I always say this, I travel up and down the country going to events and stuff, and people will come and speak to me and they'll say to me, I've waited for 3 weeks to come and see you and talk about a problem I've got or a question I have or something like that, and I'm just kind of like, just pop in a chat and you'll get an answer fairly quickly, or you can book in a time to go through that, because you're better off getting that question answered when you've got your laptop and everything in front of you to be able to go through that. Before I jump in, because Dan, we're going through a lot of that stuff. It'd be good to get your perspective, because I think Don gave a little bit earlier on. When people don't cost track correctly and don't have visibility on profit, what from a profit guy, what do you see tends to happen in the businesses, or what risks are they running into?
Yeah, take your pick, Jules. I mean, I said at the start, I mean, a lot of the clients that I bump into, and particularly in the building construction space, building a house isn't easy, and I'm not trying to sort of pump anyone up or anything, but I've worked in quite a few industries, and building's fairly complex. And what I sort of see, when clients are scaling up and going from owning a job to owning a business, it's a different skill set. So you go from running 1 or 2 jobs, you scale up to sort of 4 or 5 on the go, and stuff gets messy. You're less on the tools, you're more managing and all the rest of it. You're sort of trusting people under you to be able to execute and make sure they're on time, on budget, deliver on time and in full and all the rest of it. What I see is that builders, when they go to that space, they're really good at the estimate, really good at the sales, the marketing, word of mouth. And again, they build out these beautiful quotes that go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Now, as you sort of go further downstream and invoices fly everywhere and you flick invoices to bookkeeping, all the rest of it, you start to lose a bit of visibility on costs. You might sort of spot check the odd big subcontractor invoice that comes in, but we're in a business of 1%ers, and it's those smaller ones that can generally eat at the bottom. And what I see is, a lot of builders manage their business by looking at their bank accounts. They go, oh, I've got a bit of cash, that's all right. And then the BAS comes around and gives them a wallop and go, oh my God, that's dropped into overdraft and all the rest of it. The philosophy behind it is that if you want to be successful, if you keep gross profit under the microscope and your overheads are under control, like Don mentioned before, you micro measure that GP, so revenue and cost and all the rest of it, and you defend it and you analyze and you think about it day and night, generally you'll be okay. I mean, minus market force and all the rest of it, you have to micro measure it. Now, if you're not doing that, you're flying blind, and that's when gut feel and emotion comes in. You start getting nervous, you grab the back of the beer coast, you look at your cash at bank, and you're like, I've got this accounts payable run today, I've got this other claim coming in, you have a bit of a guess and you clench and hope. You just can't run a business like that. And the philosophy that I sort of mentioned in the background as well is, think about a business that's bigger than you sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 times and go, what are they doing that I'm not? So, for example, I mean, if you're looking at a McNabb or something like that, I mean, you don't see the CEO doing the back of the coaster thing. They have good data, big teams, good process, good systems, micro margins. So you have to be able to micro measure it. Now, if you're not doing that, emotions run high, anxiety runs high, family life becomes a bit more stressful. You can't tell the partner whether you can afford the holiday. I don't know, it's an emotional roller coaster. And the sad thing is that you've done 80-90% of the work. Like, you know how to win the job, how to do the estimate, how to do the quote and all the rest of it. You just have to measure yourself against it. Because the other danger as well is that if you sort of sign into these jobs and they go for 12, 18 months, and you sort of hope at the end and go, well, look, the spend profile's only $1 million, and you sort of clench at the end and wait 12 months, it's too late to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's crazy not to micro measure it.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the last 3 years as a whole, we've had COVID and lockdowns, which there was real concern about, is there going to be work available? And people were panicking at the start. People didn't really know what was happening with it. Turned out that people staying in actually had more money, and the government just incentivized. People weren't really expecting the government, I don't think, to incentivize as crazy as they were to stimulate the economy. And that created this giant surge in demand. And then everyone was trying to get work done, and builders were absolutely smashed, and they were all trying to get deals signed across and in advance, and then those deals and contracts were signed in, and then all of a sudden the materials just went straight up and you couldn't get them, so jobs were being delayed, material prices went crazy, so there was that unexpected increase of cost. Now they're sort of stabilized compared to where they were a few years ago. Then we had the interest rates kick in, and now people have pulled their money back, and there's a bit of uncertainty around, what's going to happen when we try and peter out with inflation, and hopefully we can do a smooth landing there. But again, you don't really know what's going to happen. We could have gone too hard. We don't really know for sure at this stage, and it might mean that people pull way back in their spending, and that creates a gap in terms of how much jobs are available. Maybe we come out the other end and it actually goes really well. People have saved a bit of money. People have been a bit more cautious. And then now when interest rates start lowering, people start going, okay, well, now I'm confident to reinvest. Like all these things in the last 3 years, 3 years isn't a long time to experience all these things happening. And without accurate data and being able to look at where your business is at any point in time, all you need is one of those things to happen and you're screwed. Like I spoke to a builder at an event, and 2 jobs lost 100 grand. Like that one, I mean, that was really no fault of his own. He knew all his data, and he still managed to lose all that stuff. Imagine if you don't know any data and you can't predict that that's coming, and it just hit you in one go. And over that couple of years, we were sort of seeing builders getting propped up by just new cash coming in. You have a break of jobs, like when you've got jobs backed up, it's fine, but you have to break for a job for 2 months. All those bills come out, and you haven't got money coming in, and you're ending up in a world of hurt.
Yeah, it's a really, really, really nice summary, Jules. I mean, there's the macro effects, which is the interest rates, the supply chain, all the rest of it. But I really think that's sort of starting to settle down, and the builders that are sort of still standing at the end, and there's still a lot of hurt out there. The ones that are sophisticated and know their numbers and know their data and how their business works and the process flows, they're the ones that will kick on. So I'm not trying to be too cliche about it, but yeah, super, super, super important. I can't stress it enough.
Yeah, amazing. Guys, I'll just throw up a QR code quickly, just in case you want to get in touch with Dan or Don, or if you want to book a demo with Buildxact, then you guys can see that QR code's coming up now.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. Awesome. So the middle one, Buildxact demo, and obviously Dan and Donna on either side of the Buildxact one. For those of you guys that are using Buildxact, you don't need to book a demo. Just go into the chat box. I'm not sure if Ryan's still on there, but go into the chat box inside Buildxact and you can actually book in sessions or just reach out to the support team. Please make use of that. Don't just sit on a question and wait. You know, get ahead of that and start booking out Ryan's calendar. We don't want him to have any free time if possible. I'm not sure if
Yeah, and I'll put the links to our half-hour and 1 hour Zoom booking sessions in the chat as well. But you can get to it by hitting on need help and then going through the flow within Buildxact as well.
Yeah. So kind of as we sort of touched on a few times there, guys, like if you have these sort of, we've created a new process and you're having issues with trying to get these up and running and sort of getting to where Dan got to at the very end, just don't stress about it too much. Just take small incremental steps. I think the first thing that I would be doing before I do anything else is integrating with your suppliers. And that's through the integrations tab. For some of you that don't see the integrations tab or you don't see the job profit dashboard stuff, you may be on the entry plan. So some of the features are limited there. So just get in touch if you're having those issues. But integrate with your suppliers, whether that's Mitre 10, Bunnings, whoever it is, get those live prices in there. If your stores aren't available, request a connection to the store. That will give you live pricing into Buildxact. Use that pricing to develop your estimate. So if that price changes, for example, your estimate changes. So you're always starting a new estimate with those accurate pricing for the materials. Make sure that you're sending that data into Xero, whether you use Dext or not. Get it into Xero, get it into Buildxact, start cost tracking accurately as possible. And then over time, you just get deeper and deeper into that. And you'll find naturally, just by being able just to go into a report and quickly summarizing where you're at, one, giving you self-security and also financial visibility on where your business is at performance-wise. And also, I think sometimes people win jobs, carry out jobs, complete them, and they don't really know how much money they made. Like the bank account looks good, so that you think, oh yeah, all's gravy. But when you actually have visibility and you think, oh, well, actually only made 14% profit margin on that job, you might start thinking differently on what jobs you're actually accepting, if it's actually worth your time, you know, to be actually spending it on trying to close that, get the lead, close it, complete the work when you know you maybe could be aiming for 20 or 25%, whatever route you want to go in terms of the types of jobs you're completing. But hopefully that gave everyone a bit of a run through. Now I know we've gone a bit over time. We haven't had a big drop-off rate, so I really appreciate you guys sticking on as long as you have. Kylie's saying she can't see the QR codes. Can you guys see the QR codes okay?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, Chris says yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Yeah,
everyone else can. Kylie, I'm not sure what the issue is there. Maybe you can see it now. I'm not sure, but yeah. So Ryan's got the session bookings in there. I'm just trying to scroll through if I've missed anything. There's so many comments in the chat. It's hard to. So Kim, you jump. I think you might have jumped in late, maybe time difference or something. It is going to be recorded, so it's normally up on our YouTube page within a couple of days or so. Being a Friday, maybe just give it till Monday or Tuesday just to get it all uploaded. And then you can always watch it on like 1.25 speed if you want to zip through it in an hour and 20 instead of an hour and 40 or something. Yeah, look, as I said before as well, this is the first iteration. Like we've just launched the cost tracking dashboard. I think it was in November, Dan, maybe October. And the 2A0 stuff has only been around for a few weeks now. So we're still at that first iteration. The way that software tends to work now, it's different in those days where you waited 2-3 years and you just got a big download and that was it. And you know, sort of the MYB way of doing things. Now we release something, we wait the feedback, we bolt onto it. So if we are missing anything that you guys really want or any specific reports and stuff, just keep that feedback coming. And you know, the more feedback we get, the more we'll look into building those areas. Tanya, so HubDoc and Dex doesn't sync into Buildxact. It syncs into your accounting software, and then your accounting software syncs into Buildxact. So for us, it's you know, most people in the country are using one of Xero QBO and MYOB, and the majority are using Xero, obviously. So for us, we go to the one that's got the many, and obviously QBO, from, as the guys are saying, from a US perspective as well. But I reckon MYOB will come at some point. I just don't know how high up the priority it is at this point. Kim, the best webinar I've been on for a long time. Really appreciate it. That it was all Dan and Don and Natalie and Ryan that did everything. But yeah, we've been talking about this one for a while, because we wanted to do a full workflow on this whole process, but we wanted to wait for the two-way Xero stuff to come in. So apologies, it has taken a little while. But Adam, deputy integration demo. Ryan, I'm not sure if you've got a recording or if you've got a link you can send over to pop in the chat there to Adam about the deputy integration.
Yes, we do have a video. I shot it myself, and it goes through the process of the integration and the work orders created as a result of that integration. I have put the link in the chat soon after Adam's initial comment. So certainly there is a link there. And again, if you did want to go through that in detail with one of our customer support or success team members, please feel free to book in a training and we can go into it a lot more in depth.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Chris there. Appreciate your comment about us looking to improve on it. So yeah, look, it's one of those things that when we release these features, for you, Chris, personally, the PO system might be a really important way, but we see a lot of other people getting value out of doing it as quickly as we can. So we first go and say, okay, well, what can we release that is going to appeal to the biggest number of people possible? And then as time goes on, we add another chunk to it, and add another chunk to it, another chunk to it. So we're always kind of aware that when we release something, it's not going to be for absolutely everyone, and there's going to be people that want a certain way of doing things, and we fix those problems over a period of time. So Stevie, Buildxact time tracking software. Look, my gut feeling is that we'll have some sort of time tracking software inside Buildxact this year. Don't quote me on that. Again, kind of to the point I mentioned on Chris's thing, I don't think geofencing will be the first cab off the rank. It'll probably be just a simple time recording, time sheeting add-on. I don't know how it's gonna look. And then look, over time, it might go, okay, well, maybe there's geofencing or facial recognition, further down the line. I don't know for sure, but that'd probably be where I would say, my gut feeling would be on it. Pros and cons quickly, HubDoc and Dext on.
Dext is just easier to use. It was visually very easy. HubDoc isn't. At the end of the day, they both do OCR. There's more job reports and things like that you can actually print out of Dext as well that I didn't really touch on too much. So for general industries, I say HubDoc or Dext, whatever you prefer. But for the building industry, there's some things within Dext that make it easier for builders, ABN checking. So as I said, some job reports. You can do job reporting things out there as well. So there's the much of it. For the small cost in construction, Dext is the go.
I think
other clients use HubDoc.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Don, but Receipt Bank was and still is the market leader, and then Xero bought HubDoc, right?
I believe it's because the Receipt Bank wouldn't sell to Xero, but anyway. Dext is the standout leader in anything to do with OCR, AI, to do with receipt processing. It's number one by a long way. Yeah.
Awesome. There's a couple of links about a Dext training link. I might have missed that, but was that Deputy, not Dext, that we were...
We don't have any videos on Dext training.
I think it might be the Deputy one. Sorry, guys, that you were asking about. Ryan, did you post that link in here?
Sorry, a link to Dext training.
The Deputy training.
Oh, deputy training. Yes, I've posted the link to our article on Deputy and Buildxact. I can post it in again, so it's more recent in the
if you
in the chat. Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Yeah, so I think Lee might have misheard you there. Dex versus Deputy, but the training video on if there was a training video on Dex, I'd probably say it was this webinar. So Natalie went quite deep in there in terms of running through how it all works. So it's one of those things that when you sort of on here for an hour and a half, hour, 40 minutes or so, there's a lot to digest. So if you want to look at a specific area like the Dex part, just go and rewatch the video and we put it up on our YouTube channel. And yeah, just cover off those parts, or just scan the QR code and you can get in touch with any of us on this session. But I might wrap it up there, guys, if it's all good on your front.
Yeah, all good.
Awesome. So just want to thank teams at Xact Accounting. So Dan, and you can't see, Phil's on there in the background somewhere listening in, and obviously Don from Not So Silent Business Partner with Natalie as well. Great insight. It's definitely probably the one that I've learned most in terms of being the hands-on side of things. And yeah, it's good to kind of, Dan, I think we have to keep on reiterating the back end profit stuff, because I think as time goes on, more and more people are going to jump into the cost tracking and are going to get further along that journey. So I think it's good to really kind of keep on going. So, but yeah, really appreciate you guys all being on. Thanks for joining. It's easily the lowest drop-off rate from registration to attendees that we've ever had on a webinar. So obviously it's good content from the start, and people haven't dropped off really until now at the end. So really appreciate you jumping on board. And yeah, a couple of days or so, and it should be up on our YouTube channel. So just give that a watch there. And for anyone else still on, join the Facebook page, the Buildxact Building Block. It's a great little source of information, and loads of builders there will ask questions and answer each other's questions, and you know how they do things. So definitely give that a go as well. But I'll hop off and we'll finish this up now. Yeah, once again, thanks guys. Really appreciate everyone joining, and for you guys on the panel as well. That was awesome.
Thanks.
Nice one, guys. Thank you very much. Happy Friday.
Brilliant. Thanks. And thanks, Ryan, as well. Got you, mate.
Thank you. All good.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.